Hey everybody, welcome to Z-Wings Workshop. I normally do not show off client projects, but this project behind me I thought was worth showing off. So let's show you what I got. Right here is a set of benches from Wrigley Field. And obviously there's some issues on the very top. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do to repair this. And thankfully, I don't have to paint it. He said he's painting it. Okay, so here they are. They're benches. Now this plywood thing I got going on here, it's here to keep this thing upright because it's just on a 2x or a 4x4 and it won't stand up otherwise. So these do one of these as you would expect. And if you look at the back side, you know, these rails are in great shape with the exception of the caked on paint. And this one on top is kind of half exposed. And obviously you can see the wood, which I believe is cedar, has been eaten by bugs. And the other one is sort of in the same shape, but not as bad, but just as bad. So we are going to go through and we are going to try to replace them. Now, I've actually done one of these a long time ago, and I had to remove one side just to get clearance, you know, to put the new panel in. But I believe I might be lucky and kind of be able to, you know, slip it inside the little grooves here, you know, and we'll have to see. If not, I'm gonna have to take out some more. We'll figure it out when I get there. But he had already tried to take some stuff apart, and I can't remember if this was apart already. So obviously there's some paint missing here. I haven't really started messing with it yet, but we're gonna grab a vice grip on this side. We're gonna try and turn it on the other side. I'm gonna use a little PV blast. We're gonna get this one removed. Hopefully they can remove good. If not, we're gonna have to try and get different hardware. And the same thing here. What I'm planning on doing here is I'm just gonna split it to expose this nut to make it look like this. And then I'm gonna kind of do the same thing here with these. Try to get it to split. I could get the thing, take it apart to where I can get these bolts. This one will actually be the best candidate to start with because it's already here. So hopefully I could get some PV blast on it and I could get that thing removed. Granted too, there's a lot of extra paint on it, so I might even go at it with a wire wheel just to expose the nut a little bit better. So let me put you on the stand here and you can see what I'm working on. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun project. So if you ever have one of these and you got something similar, maybe I could give you some tips and tricks on how to repair your own. Okay, so I'm trying to hold the stand here and work around. First thing I'm gonna do is clean up this bolt, then we'll hit it with some PV blast, and then we're gonna try and remove it. I basically took one of these wire deals, and we're just gonna give it a little kiss here. And I'm basically taking the head of the nut here, and I'm just kind of hitting it with the wire wheel, just to kind of clean up the actual flat surfaces of it. Hopefully, smells good. Let's get a vice grip on this side now. Now I don't want to get too much of a grip on it, but now these are 3/8. I've got one of my little ratchets here. See if I can get the brake loose. Actually, they're not 3/8. All right, so been going through my bits. That's 3/8, a little too loose. Here's 10 millimeter, way too loose. Here's 9 millimeter, too tight. Here's 11/32, also too tight. So which one is it? I mean, I'm running out of options here. That's when you go to your several 16ths and dial it into whatever it's needed. I'm just amazed that it's not any of those other pieces. Now you may be asking too, you used a deep well, a shallow well, a wrench, and a, you know, Apex nut driver. That's all I could find. And, you know, sometimes the best tool for the job is the one that you can find the first. And we've all seen my tool chest. So, enough. Now, usually anytime you deal with bolts that are like this, you kind of wiggle them in a couple different directions to kind of get them loose. I do need to make this a little tight, though. I'm not going to lie to you. Aha, I've got breakage. That's good. I think it's good enough I can do it by hand. That's what I like. All right, so now that we got one removed, and I will clean these threads up. All right, so now to here, we are going to split this. And if you guessed I don't have one that's super sharp right now, well, you're kind of right. Okay, well, I already got one piece. It didn't get to where the grain needs to be. So now I could try to saw cut this and gingerly take it out. Let's try it in this direction. There we go. That is a perfect break. Can only pray that the other side will do the same. You can already see we already got a split here, so that's actually kind of nice. Not sure if it was just for me banging as it was. There we go. Just gonna hit with the hand. There we go. All right, so the other one's the same way, a little rinse and repeat. Spray some of this crap everywhere. Get it all over the place. As you can see, all four came out really nice. Now cleaning up the thread, I'm using the same deal. I was able to save the washers too. If you could just easily put these nuts back in and out, you know, on and off, you're in good shape. Now, you saw me split this stuff apart. You can see I have a piece of cedar behind me because, you know, I hoard stuff and I can't throw away scraps. And we'll show you that in a second. But this is basically kind of goes together like Legos in a way, where it'll snap right back in place. This guy will also snap right back in place. And now we have basically our template. So we know exactly what we have for width. We've got the shaping. Now I have the old one too, the other side. And that one actually gives us even a little bit more detail. We got a nice area for the hole, what we're going to have to do. We even have this top slope, so we know exactly where this turns. I mean, we have this as well. Here's a fun little detail too. This actually has like a little bit of a curve round over. And I didn't really notice it on this one, but I assume it does. And that one actually does not have that. So maybe it does slightly. It's kind of hard to say. But I almost wonder, these probably are hand-shaped to a certain extent. I have no idea how old they are. I have figured out it is for sure cedar, just by the weight of it. I went ahead and glued these. You can see I put some tape on them. Hopefully the glue will, you know, the glue and the tape are just to kind of keep them in shape for right now. Now I'm probably the last person to explain to you how to make a buck, because I barely make sense. But if you need to make a jig, I'm your guy. Okay, so I decided to speed up the video because I screwed up. And you're going to see me go through and make this fancy jig. And it didn't actually work. It was not strong enough. You see, what I ended up having to do, and you'll see me do it in a minute here, I ended up resawing the cedar into like 1/4 inch to 15/16 inch strips before I wetted them down to soften them up, to bend them. Now this thing, even though it, at face value when I did it, it looked like it was going to be strong enough, it definitely was not strong enough to handle it. Now here I am resawing. They wouldn't fit on the bandsaw, so I used the table saw, and then I used my Japanese saw to cut them in half. You'll see now it goes into my planer, which the camera never recorded anyway, but it took about a minute to do that. And then I grabbed that old bin, threw some plastic in it because obviously it had holes, filled it up with water. And believe it or not, that didn't work either. So that was failure number 2. I had a big mess all over the place, but no worry about the wall. That's why the wall was built the way it was. So I ended up getting a new bin filled with water. Those are concrete squares from old concrete countertop samples I was using to hold it all down. And this is when I realized that things weren't going to work. As I started clamping it in, it just wasn't giving me a good equal clamping pressure. And yes, I'm using an old Sawzall blade to spear the glue, which works very well, by the way. Now you can see too, I had to put some seams. I was having cracking issues. It just wasn't working. So what I ended up doing was I took a 2x12 I had. I ended up making a very quick on-the-fly jig, clamped the hell out of it, and the new clamp worked much better, and I was able to get the desire I wanted. So you'll see that right now. Now I should have known better, and luckily I was able to just rework this while the glue was still not fully set. And I redid the buck, and this thing obviously holds a much better arc. And the other 3 pieces I just kind of put onto the other jig, and they're just kind of temporarily put here just to kind of keep that round shape while they're still drying out. You can see there's some little tape band-aids there. But yeah, we're going to pop this guy out and pop the new one in. It's basically the same process. This one works a lot nicer. You clamp the edges first with the parallel clamps, and then just crank it down with these guys. And basically each one kind of acts like a bridge, and there should be enough air getting into it. So I'm going to pop this out, and you can see it real fast while I'm popping it out. And I had this basically drying for about 24 hours. And there we go. Nice and curved, ready for milling. Everything held back pretty good. It's even got a little bit of a fold back to it. Now it's just going to be a lot of sanding, but before we do this, I want to get the other one clamped up and ready to go. Alright, with both pieces out, I just took some sanding, a sand block, just to kind of clean up an edge. What we're going to do is we're going to send them through to get a nice clean edge on the other side. We got them both here. Curves are good. They both actually match. It's kind of a tricky cut, I'm not going to lie. It shouldn't be too bad. As you can see, we got 2 nice clean edges. Now the width on these, the original ones were 11/16. These, I mean, slightly varied. I mean, they're measuring about 15/16. So we definitely got a whole lot of sanding to do, and that should probably take out 1/8 on each side. I'm going to go through that. I'm not going to show you this camera, but it's just going to be me sanding away. And yeah, I'll probably mask up and all that fun stuff. Now, I just turned off some fans and I stopped for a breather here. You can see that, you know, you run these lines across, and this kind of helps as you're sanding, keeps it flat. It's no different than putting like a guide coat on a paint job before prep. The backside has already been done, and it's nice and flat. We're kind of creeping in on our, you can see that pencil line. That is your 11/16. Now, I'm not looking for absolute perfection as far as thickness goes. I want to be close, at least consistent in the ballpark. So I do got a bit of sanding to do in the middle here. But I just kind of want to give you an update to show you how it's going. Okay, so it's now time to figure out the radius. Now, you remember we have these two pieces. This is nice. It gives us an upper wall, and it gives us the slope. When you look at the actual original piece, it basically, you have this angle on both sides, and it just kind of makes a hoop. So I'm going to show you how I laid it out. I've got this piece of manila folder just on a piece of cedar, and we're going to just kind of line it up. And I'm going to trace as close to the edge as I possibly can. I really just want to get these corners, but I also want to make sure it's going to be roughly the same dimension. Alright, so this corner is obviously destroyed, so I'm going to just flip this guy around so I can match it up. Okay, now that that's done, I'll take a screw, put it, let's see, where do I want it? Yeah, right there. Basically putting a screw in each corner. Now I have the stick, and it's flexible enough and it's straight enough where I'm going to put pressure on the very middle. We got 19 3/4 overall, so that's basically 9 7/8. Now I grab my square. Even though I most likely would eyeball this, but we'll get the square. That's basically where I'm putting my finger. And we are going to try to stretch it as much as possible. And we're snapping, so that's not good. I got to get a new piece. Alright, I found another stick. I'm basically looking for something that's just going to bend nice without breaking, to give me a nice arc. And I'm basically, obviously I'm using the screw as a hold down, and then I'm just kind of following the pencil line of the top section that I kind of traced out. Keeping my finger basically in the center. I think we're good there. So I'm just trace that line. And that should be the seat back. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to fold it in half, and that way we can make a symmetrical line out of it. Or, so I'm just folding right on that center line, so I guess I'm glad I did use the square. And I'm going to grab my scissors and cut it out. I'm going to cut it out a little wide of the line, that way I could compare one side to the other. I'll probably go with whatever the bigger arc is. Okay, look in here. This guy seems to be bigger. Now this line should be the same, which it is, obviously. And you can see we're a little fat here, a little skinnier here. We'll go with this one. And you can see, yeah, it was quite a bit of a difference. But at least now, it should remain symmetrical when we lay it onto our piece. So here obviously is our piece. We are going to center it up, and then I could draw it on, and then we'll take this on the bandsaw and we will cut it. Alright, so I dialed in the shape, marked it out. You can see I cut it very proud of the line, which will be fine because I'm just going to hit it with a belt sander. Looks really good though. So we got one done. I got the bandsaw running. We'll get the other one done. Same thing, just going to cut it a little bit. So I was talking to my client, and I said, what do you plan on doing with this thing? I go, because it will not stand up on its own. So I said, do you want me to add feet? And he said, sure, go for it. So this is what I came up with. Just some simple, dados, into this 4x4. Now, something else I'm worried about is everything, this entire casting piece is relying on these 3 screws, excuse me, going all the way back. So what I did is I found some of these brackets, and we're going to basically pop them in here. Obviously, I'm going to put a through bolt in the top here, and then we're going to put, obviously, I'll put a hole here, so this will sandwich through, and then I'm going to cut off some of this angle, and we'll put a big screw going down into here. That should work for the 2 ends, and it's mainly just to support this. That way, this should be tied together. I don't want those castings to break. In the middle, because I do not have a leg, I've got a thicker one, and I'm going to basically just kind of hang it underneath. Same thing. We'll just run a couple of holes where the bolts are. Now for the tops, everything actually went pretty good. Let me turn the light here. So I kind of put them up in place and drilled the holes, or at least small holes. I rounded the edges, as you can see, and then they just got a coat of primer on them right now. And then I'm going to eventually probably throw another 2 coats or 3 coats of primer on there and just keep sanding in between coats. There is a hair bit of filler, but it's not too bad. So they're just kind of hanging over here on the tree. Okay, now with the seat backs dry, I installed them. And I had to hammer in the carriage bolt end and try to make sure that everything's lined up. Like I said, I did make them a little hair skinnier so they can be easily popped in and out if they need be. Popping on the nuts on the backside was a little difficult, but we were able to get them in there. Again, they're primed, and you can see the radius matches really well. The upper humps turned out really good. They match really nice. Spacing looks good, and there are the feet that are kind of sanded. I threw a little router edge on them, and the back braces to kind of hold everything together. And yeah, everything looks great. Now he's just gonna have to clean them all up and give them a final coat of paint, and probably stencil in some numbers and whatnot. And yeah, they're in pretty good shape. So that's all. Well, now you know what it takes to recreate a top headpiece here. And if you have a set of chairs like this, and maybe you wanted to do it on your own, it's doable for sure. It just requires a little bit of patience and time and glue and all that other fun stuff. But these are going to get dropped off, and again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.